equipping others with knowledge to empower the next generation. You are now listening to the What in the World Leadership Podcast with Pastor J.C. Ramirez.
What's going on, everybody? This is J.C. Ramirez from What in the World Ministries coming at you guys on a Saturday. Again, we apologize for not being able to get a podcast out sooner. I had bronchitis this entire week, so that was fantastic. But we do have our buddy back with us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm glad to be back, man. Y'all held it down pretty good.
It is Marco, in case anybody didn't know.
Congratulations, Marco. You're back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Round of applause.
Thank you.
We missed you.
It's a one-hand clapping.
We missed you.
Thank you.
And that was our newest member, Justina. No, I'm just kidding.
Thanks, Jason.
Justin.
What's up, y'all? How are y'all doing?
We're back today wanting to do a new segment. As a lot of you guys know, over this past, I want to say about a month now, there's been a issue that I guess not a lot of people have risen awareness of. And when I say that, I don't mean people haven't. I'm just speaking in terms of, I think this needs to have more light on it. And unfortunately, we all know that unfortunately the things that happened with Chris and Chester. Chester Bennington was a huge musical influence on my life when they came out with all their, first albums from Hybrid Theory to Meteora. And I remember in middle school really just grasping the lyrics and really taking them to heart. And it's a huge bummer for myself as a musician to hear one of my great influences, somebody I looked up to be honest, unfortunately had to go through this horrible bout with depression and drug addiction and alcoholism. And unfortunately, you guys know the news, and we all were a part of it, and we all saw it. He did end up committing suicide. Now, we're not focusing on suicide at the moment, but more on depression. Us three guys here in the room together, we've all have dealt with depression in our own lives in different ways, and it's not easy, guys. It's not. I can tell you guys from my own stories, and I'm not going to elaborate just at the moment, but I know what it's like to feel that dark gloominess, the no hope feeling around you when depression is literally just eating you alive. And I've been there, and I can definitely say that this is not something that just goes away in a day or goes away in sometimes not even a week. Man, guys, this is a serious issue that I don't think enough people maybe take into their perspective on how serious it is, and I want to shed light on this.
I think it's I think there's been some focus. I know when Robin Williams took his life, I know that was a big thing, and they brought awareness to a point. And Chris Cornell from Soundgarden about a month ago, and now Chester from Linkin Park. But I think bringing it forth is great and raising awareness, but then I truly believe it fades. They bring this awareness, and you see all these little posts on Facebook or whatever it may be, wear ribbons, but
everybody only cares about it for a moment.
Yeah, then it just fades, and then everybody goes on about their lives and forgets that this is still going on. Just because we don't see it, it's like out of sight, out of mind. We don't see it in the headlines anymore, then everything's back to normal.
It's just crazy when you see it with it just being a star, and then that's when it's made aware. But it's what, 350 million people suffer from depression, and how come that's not really a headlining news? I mean, you can see it if you go look for it, but I mean, what you see, like we talked about in the first podcast, you see on social media, and it's stuff that can be so irrelevant, you know. But this is real world stuff, and this is literally the everyday hell that I mean, all three of us can say that we've experienced, and the 350 million that are there right there with us. And I mean, it breaks my heart to see this, especially with the stars, and to see how it influenced a lot of people in many different ways.
Yeah.
But it's just, man, like, shedding a light on this podcast on this third episode is with depression is, I think for all of us, if we get emotional, because we've been there. I mean, we have been there.
And there's some of us still struggle with it, you know. Like,
yeah.
I'm still battling it. I think it's going to be a part of my life forever. And there's a fine line that a lot of people don't understand, and it's not something that you can just man up and go away. It doesn't work that way. You can't really. There's a great poem that actually talks about it and says, you know, there's no amount of push-ups that's going to can't make my depression go away. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's great merit to medication, but if you read Chris Cornell's thing, some medications actually have suicidal ideologies.
Oh, absolutely.
Which makes you're taking antidepressants, or whether it's your anti-anxiety medicine, and all it does is make your depression worse. So it's a fine line. There's a lot of psychotherapy, whether it be talk therapy. I mean, there's a lot of treatments out there, but they're not always the cure.
Right. No, and no, man, you're speaking to the choir when it comes to the medication part. Now, we all know of Prozac, and that was the one I was on. And these, not all of them, but these medications are to help increase serotonin inside your brain, to help the hippocampus, the part of your brain, actually kind of regain its... What would you call it? I guess
it's like the natural flow. It's making its own or making its own connections. It's, I guess, getting back to normal.
Right.
Sense,
yeah. Because we saw that, and again, this is science and medical, and I mean, you guys can go YouTube, internet, look this up. But people who battle with depression, it is shown that this part of the brain, the hippocampus, which is predominantly responsible for memories, it begins to shrink and get smaller and smaller as depression worsens. And this is what we found out over years and years of study over this, because we can go all the way back to, man, the Greeks and them saying it was just a mood. Right? Yeah. And even people today say, there's no such thing as depression. You're just in the mood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, take your vitamins.
Yeah, take your vitamins, get out, get some more sun. And you know what?
Go to sleep on time.
You can, yes. There's things that you can do to uplift your spirits and uplift your day.
Right.
But it's not one of those things that last per se.
Right.
Now, again, as somebody who's taken the medication, as somebody who's been on Xanax, someone who's been on Prozac, somebody who's, clonazepam and all these other different medications for anxiety, depression, man, I can say that it has helped me.
Yeah.
Now, during the time that I was taking two of those three, they helped me.
Yeah.
They did. Yeah. When I was going through my depression and everything seemed so bleak and everything seemed literally the thoughts of suicide were the only things I was thinking about at the time, because of how just in a I don't know how else to put it, but a hopeless mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the things that I was going through, because of the way I saw it was affecting my family. My honest opinion and my mindset, the way I was thinking was everything would be better without me.
If you were gone, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about depression is you get your perception is off.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see things clear, and it's kind of like, there's a great analogy, and it's, whenever we're driving, whether it be on an interstate or on the loop, and somebody cuts you off, and before you start making creative words, and cursing at them or doing whatever. But you're stuck in the moment, and a couple of seconds later, you just kind of dismiss it and move on about your day, and so that moment's over. But with depression, it's kind of like just pulling over and just being stuck in that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This guy cut me off, pissed me off, and I'm going to stay in this moment, and I can't move past that. If that makes sense. And it's a horrible, hopeless feeling. It's this feeling that you're alone and it's not getting any better.
Yeah.
It's literally you're sitting in a dark room, and how I described where I dealt with my depression. It's like I'm sitting in a dark room and there is no light. I mean, you think about it, and it actually just feels better to sit in the dark, and that's
to an extent you kind of you befriend it.
Yeah.
I mean, you embrace it because that's your reality.
You literally live with it every single day. That's literally what you go home to. Yeah. That's literally what you deal with. Maybe if you're a high school kid or a college kid, you go to the bathroom and you have to learn. Of course, you have to show up, do the same routine every day. But it's like the world keeps moving, but you stop. I mean, you're just there. Yeah. And it's like...
And putting on that show of just going out and trying to be normal, it's exhausting.
And that's exhausting. That's what makes you so tired.
You go home to your sadness, and there's a comfort in your sadness. And it's a hard thing to describe if you haven't been there.
Yeah. And for me, speaking just from my personal bouts with this, the things that I would get told are, just pray and pray. And hey, I believe in prayer. I do. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I believe prayer is a mighty, mighty tool. But at the same time, when you feel hopeless, prayer doesn't really sound like the way you should be. And even when people would tell me, stop feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
That would make me mad, because it's literally like you don't understand.
I think it's put in this, and whoever goes through it, like speaking from my experience, it's this shame that comes along with it, and you feel like it's your fault. You feel horrible as it is, and then when somebody tells you, man, just man up, or like you said, quit feeling sorry for yourself, it worsens the blow.
Oh, absolutely. It's like there's a wound.
It's like confirmation
you pull up the scab, rip it open a little bit more, make it worse. Yeah. Hey, let's put some lemon on that too.
So it's just confirmation that it is me. There is something wrong with me. And prayer, and I love that because I got that a lot. Go pray about it. Go pray. You don't have enough faith, but then at some point, your prayers don't get answered. Then what?
It gets worse.
You pray and nothing's changing.
That's when you're literally relying on a sign or a miracle work to happen. And all of a sudden you're 13, 14, 15 years old, and it just doesn't happen. And at that age, you can go to Sunday school. You can go do those things and be in community and all that stuff. But it literally doesn't matter, because whatever they say to you, it literally goes one ear out the other. And I remember that every single day. And I remember, man, like I said, it's a constant hell, I believe. I heard the name of Jesus. I know what he's done. I've heard about it. I heard the story. I've heard all these great stories. You hear Moses. You hear about Abraham. You hear about everything. And the next thing you know, for someone that's really depressed and is in that dark room or is in that place of hopelessness, to be honest with you, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what you tell them, and especially you can hear about God and all these things, and that's hard. I mean, that's really hard to hear. Parents, leaders, that's hard to hear, but those kids really just don't care. And for some people, they just don't care.
Well, because you're coming from a situation where everything again looks hopeless, everything's dim, everything's gloomy. Let's just be honest, everything's crap and everything sucks. Now, we can go to the church, we can go to services, even reading the Bible and saying, you know what, that's fantastic. But what is it doing for me in the situation now?
Yeah.
I'm crying to God. And I hear the Bible, and the Bible says, when you call upon my name, I will be there. And I'm crying and thinking of literally, again, ending my life. And those cries are still happening. And you're saying, God, if you're there, if your word says that when you cry, I hear you, then where are you?
Yeah.
Where are you? And I remember telling myself that. I remember, I'm sorry, even into this latter year, the beginning of 2017, I found myself on my knees asking God, where are you?
Yeah.
You said you would save me. You said you would never let me go. Through the valley of the shadow of death, I should fear no evil. Well, I'm sorry. I started fearing evil. I started fearing for my life. I started fearing because of unfortunately, the person I had become because of my depression.
Yeah.
I wasn't the same.
Yeah. And it's...
Now, don't get me wrong, because what I just said is how I truly did feel.
Yeah, and I've been there. I remember crying out, and talk about losing faith whenever you cry out to God and He doesn't show up.
Where everybody's like hand in the air, looking at the sky, and where are you?
Yeah,
literally, you're banging on a tree or you're throwing everything that you can. I mean, you, in some points, it even looks like you're going insane because it's just there, and. Man, and even coming to barely attending church for about regularly for a year now, thank God. But even when I just came to church, man, there's just no way that I could help myself. And you try to bear your sorrows in other people, and you're literally sharing that hell that you have inside. And I know I did that as a kid, and I know I did that everywhere I go, and including now. And it ended up hurting more people than I thought.
Yeah.
You becoming a monster that you never wanted to be.
Yeah.
You had hope. You had all this before. You've seen the light at one point in your life, and you're like, I'm going to stand up for this and that and this and that and this and that and that. And then in that depression, when you carry it on with you and you keep just putting it under the bed or sweeping it under the rug, and people tell you, hey, just keep going or doing this, don't stop or whatever, you never realize that home front inside of your heart, you never realize that you never mended it, that you never paid attention to it. For some people, it's for the rest of their lives. For some people, it could be for maybe a period of time.
Yeah.
It just depends.
And to speak more on that, I want to, for one, during this podcast, I do want to play a song for you guys just to listen to. And again, this song was actually written and produced by Linkin Park and written by, sorry about that, Chester Bennington. And it's called One More Light. And after Chris Cornell committed suicide, he sang this at the previous or the next show, and it was for him, and Chester could even finish singing the song because of the hurt he felt and where he was.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play this song for you guys real quick, and then we'll be back.
Should have stayed. Were the signs I ignored? Can I help you not to hurt anymore? We saw brilliance when the world was asleep. There are things that we can have but can't keep. If they say, who cares if one more light goes out in the sky of a million stars? It flickers, flickers. Who cares when someone's time runs out? If a moment is all we are, or quicker, quicker. Who cares if one more light goes out? Well, I do. The reminders pull the floor from your feet. In the kitchen, one more chair than you need. Oh, and you're angry, and you should be. It's not fair. Just 'cause you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't there. If they say, who cares if one more light goes out in the sky of a million stars? It flickers, flickers. Who cares when someone's time runs out? If a moment is all we are, or quicker, quicker. Who cares if one more light goes out? Well, I do. Goes out in the sky of a million stars. It flickers, flickers. Who cares when someone's time runs out? If a moment is all we are, or quicker, quicker. Who cares if one more light goes out? Well,
Okay, guys. So, in this song, it talks about one more light. In this song, it says, who cares if one more light goes out? I care.
Yeah. There's a couple of, I love music. Man, I love music. And I think it's therapeutic. I really do. I think it heals a lot of wounds. And it's sad because you can sit there and know a lot of things. You know, you can sit there and know that you're loved. But when what you feel doesn't match up with what you know, your feelings start taking over. So you may know that you're loved, but you don't feel loved, and you don't feel worth anything. And you kind of get to that place where who cares? You know, everything, and yeah, people may be sad, but the life will go on. Everybody will move on, and everything will be fine after I leave. There's a guy, which I probably shouldn't be promoted, but there's Chance the Rapper. And he says, you know, I forgot. So he says, everybody's somebody's everything.
Yeah.
And in one of his songs, and to me, I think that sums up so much. Because even when you don't feel like you're worth anything, even when you feel like you're nobody loves you, you're alone,
Yeah.
you don't know the fact that there's actually somebody else who you are everything to. You mean the world to them, and to lose you, and they're losing their world.
Yeah.
You listen to the beginning of that song, One More Light, and it's so crazy. If you really listen to this, guys, it says, should have stayed where there's signs I ignored. So he's asking, should I have stayed where there's signs of this depression? Did I ignore these things?
Yeah.
And then he goes on to say, can I help you not hurt anymore? And it's so crazy when you just read those lines. And again, it goes back into saying, who cares if one more light goes out? Because depression today is increasing at an alarming rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's always been out, but suicide specifically. I've had a great friend in high school commit suicide. I have people very close to me who've also experienced this.
Yeah.
I had a buddy of mine about a year ago that he took his kids' lives, and they were both under 5. It was about a year ago. And then he took his own life.
That's crazy. I had my first love that I ever had in my life. She took her life at an early age of 15, and those are all things that you experience, and you share life with people, and you don't ever think stuff like that is real until it comes to that light, and until it comes to pass. And I mean, you could wish that it would change, but where do we start?
Yeah.
What do we do?
This is what I honestly think. For those of you that are listening, first, I do want to say this, and this is actually the title of our podcast, is you're not alone. There are people in the world that know exactly how you feel, exactly what you're going through, and you say, well, my situation's different. Well, if that's the case, so be it, but this is coming from me. I dealt with addictions. I dealt with sexual abuse as a child. I've dealt with the feeling of always being a failure, never having anything that was just positive to give somebody.
Yeah.
I didn't have that, so instead I had to create this fake persona of myself to give to people because they didn't want the real me. No one wants the real JC.
They wouldn't like the real JC.
Exactly.
According to you.
And because that's how I felt. I'm like, I literally, my depression turned into an animosity towards myself.
Yeah.
I hated getting up and seeing myself in the mirror because every morning I reminded myself, you're such a failure.
Yeah.
Who are you? Why are you even here? People say this, people say that, but none of that stuff stuck in my head. What stuck in my head was, you're nothing. Nobody sees you for who you are. And I've been there.
Yeah.
And I remember, I remember asking myself, why am I here?
Yeah.
What's the purpose?
Why does this doesn't even make sense? If God is so great, if God is so loving, then why is he allowing me to feel like this?
Why did he make me like this?
Exactly.
And then that goes back to our past podcast about people leaving the church. I've seen so many people leave the church because they were looking for healing and they never got it.
Yeah.
They never got that healing. They never got that all amazing feeling. And what you can say in church, or what you can say now, is that they've never been resurrected because they've been dead all this time. And I mean, there's so many ways you can put that in itself, but for some people it's like, I never saw that miracle. I never saw Jesus in any of these situations. I heard him, but I never saw him.
Yeah.
And it's different of seeing it with eyes. Guys, I truly believe that you have 4 sets of eyes. I'm not talking about people that have glasses. I'm talking about
Thanks, man.
I'm talking about that you have, of course, the eyes on your head, but there's eyes in the heart.
Yeah.
And if you don't ever see with the eyes and the heart, then you don't have faith. You don't have that faith. You have faith in maybe some certain things, yes, and you have faith in God, but when you don't see it in there, and then the emotions run high, I know for all of us here, I can speak, and this is a legitimate thing. You can go look this up. When you let your emotions win, it doesn't matter what's in here in your heart.
No.
Your emotions literally take control of your life.
And that's for myself, going back to biblical principles and practices, Paul says that we need to learn to die to our flesh every day.
Yeah.
And I believe that even means to an extent our emotions. And again, those who are dealing with depression, I know this is not easy to hear. No, and I know for a fact that this isn't probably something you don't want to hear. But if you want to get out of this rut, you have to choose that for yourself.
Yeah.
I understand we can become comfortable and we can literally conform to the way we feel, but if you want to get better, you got to get up one day and say, you know what, I'm going to be better. Go home, oh, whatever, this sucks. No, you got to get the next day and you got to say, I'm going to be better.
Yeah.
The Bible tells us that there is life and death in our tongue.
Yeah.
That's what Jesus says. Yeah. It's like a double-edged sword.
Everything flows from the heart.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so within our heart, if there's nothing but hopelessness and just bleakness and things that are just like, that we got to get up and say it's time for a change. And for those of us that have been through this, and those of us who maybe you don't even think depression's a real thing, I'm here to tell you that there's people out there, adults, kids, teenagers, that need to see that they matter.
Yeah.
We got to come from that place again. Again, going back to last week's podcast, if we're not loving one another, if we're not becoming the community that we need to be, to surround each other with love and say, you matter. You matter.
Yeah.
God made you for a purpose.
Yeah.
That's something I had to remind myself. Yeah. See, anybody could tell me that, and I'd be like, whatever, that's a load of crap. But I had to tell myself that. Yeah. And I was telling this to Marco, I said, there's so many times where depression, it literally almost kicked my butt.
Yeah.
But I had to get up every morning, and I had to try to make the best. And then there's good days, there was bad days, and there was days that, man, they were just straight up bad. But I had to say, God, I know you're there. I don't want to go down this path. I'm choosing to trust in you. Now, trust is something totally different than saying, oh, why trust God? No, you got to trust God. You got to trust that God's going to pull you out of this dump, out of this emotional, literally emotional cage. Mm-hmm. You're bound to your fear. You're bound to your depression. You're bound to your anxiety. You're bound to all these things, everything that people go through, whether it's anger, whether it's animosity towards somebody because of what happened to you while you were younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even in the future, as you were a teenager, or even as an adult. Guys, we have to say that enough is enough, that we have to come around each other as a community. And I love this thing because Mike Shinoda even said this. Again, one of the founders of Lincoln Park says, we need communities that are around each other, supporting each other, encouraging one another. We need community.
I think that's made the big difference in my life. Speaking just for me, and I believe it's actually, I think it's actually a really good, positive way to do or to deal with people or to live with, if you live with people that have depression or any kind of mental illness in general. Jesus had his 12 disciples and stuff, but he only had 3 really cool friends.
And especially that he took to the
always say, and these 3 guys, and that was like his inner circle, and then those 3 guys were his. And I have the same thing. And there's a point when you have mental illness that, and also in your walk with Christ, that you have to humble yourself. And you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable.
You have to. Mm-hmm.
And there's a time where I've reached out to JC, and when I deal with stuff, there's a couple of people in my life, and two actually, and then JC and Pastor Josh Washington, who also works here, who whenever I am having my down days, I reach out to, and just, if they ask me, so how are you doing, I'll tell them I'm struggling today. So they can't pray with me, but to be vulnerable enough to say, hey, you know what, man, I'm hurting today, and like I said, the other two, I'll tell them, man, it hurts to live today.
Yeah,
it hurts to live, and if you want to get better, community is the way. One of the ways. I mean, obviously medication and other stuff, but talking to people and letting them in, and like you said, trust, man. And you trust in God, and you let people that you trust in, that aren't gonna scrutinize you and aren't gonna look at you different and say, well, that guy's crazy, man.
Yeah,
it's not crazy. It's not crazy.
And one thing I would like to point out too is that, with Marco talking about that, you got to find people that you have to trust and to really commune with. Guys, if you can't find that where you're at right now, I mean, we start this podcast for a reason, and we are more than available on social media. We all have Facebook. We all are part of something, and we're all willing to even share emails. We're willing to share phone numbers. We're willing to talk to you no matter where you are. And if it's just you just speaking about how hellacious that your day's been, or that the week's been, or about the month's been, or how about your life has been, and you just need someone to listen. Us three individuals here have that for you.
Yeah, there's certain things that I live by, and I always have these sayings. It just one of my favorite, and I do with my kids when they're having bad days, and it's kind of becoming this thing that we do within ourselves.
Yeah,
I reach out to my son who's he's 17, and whenever he got into a point where he actually checks in on me every now and then and says, Dad, how are you doing? Dad, how are you feeling?
Yeah,
and there's certain days that I'm not doing good, and I don't tell him the extent because he is 17, but I do tell him, you know what, today's a down day, and he'll tell me it's okay, tomorrow's a new day, Chicken Little. And that's kind of one of the sayings that I would tell him because of a movie, the Chicken Little movie, his dad told him tomorrow will be a new day.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just the hope that gives me, you know what, you're right.
And that's
today's gonna suck.
Yeah.
But tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow's a new day, Chicken Little.
That's what we talked about, and I know I told you it's that and JC pointed out not too long ago, but it's literally finding that light every single day, no matter how small it is or no matter what it is. It's that you literally wake up. Okay, yeah, you got a routine. You go to school, you get up, breakfast, school, I don't know, athletics or band or theater, or even just going home to play video games or just doing your whatever it is. Adults, your routine as well. If literally finding that light wherever it is.
It's like we said, like y'all said yesterday, or the last podcast was a passion. If you feed into their passions,
exactly,
whether it be athletics, whether it be cheerleading,
whatever it is,
music, whatever. If you feed into that passion, man, I think that's key. It's healing, and it actually, studies do show that actually makes a huge difference in mental illness.
And when you find something that you love and that passion, and you pour into it, then you start realizing that the purpose that God had you here for is to spread through that. You're meant to be creative. You're meant to do all this. You can when you feed into your passion, because we all know, we've all been there. We have passions. And when you feed into that, guys, next thing you know, Romans 8:28 comes alive. And Romans 8:28, for those that you don't know, it says, and we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. And when you find that purpose and you find that passion, and when the next thing you know, when you're fighting and it's been a really rough day, but you go, I don't know, some people go to the gym, some people play video games, some people just like doing homework. I don't know what you like to do, but when you feed into that, and there's that tiny little line, you're like, wow, I reached it today. And then you hit the sheets, and you go to bed, and then you're like, tomorrow's another day. We're gonna get there again.
We're gonna get there.
I think for me, and going off Justin, Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 8, the Lord himself goes before you and will be with you.
Yep.
He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. And I think that is so huge for us today, and talking about this issue in general, guys. God doesn't leave. He doesn't. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter how you feel, God is there. God loves you. And if you can't accept that, you better, because it's the truth. All right? Not trying to be aggressive or anything, but God loves you so much. We talked about this in the last podcast. For God so loved the world, he gave his son for us. To be tortured, beaten to death, and to be made fun of and mocked on a cross while he hung there to die.
Yeah.
Now,
Thank you, God.
Going back to that, the love, we gotta love each other.
Yeah.
We got to. We have to. If we don't love each other, love doesn't win. The devil wins. Our emotions win. No, we win. The Bible says at the end that we are victorious. And if we're going to be victorious, we need to round up with our brothers and sisters, whether they're pastors or not, whether they're in leadership or not. Love on one another. Tell them how great of a job they're doing. I got these two incredible men right before me, and I can tell you, without them, I don't know where we would be right now. That you guys have done so much for not just the ministry here at the Lubbock Dream Center, but you guys are literally in this What in the World ministries with me. You guys are partners in this with me, because I see the talents, I see the calling that God has on y'all's lives. And I could ask anybody, but no, God told me to ask you guys. And I did it because, for one, we're a lot alike.
Yeah.
But also, we all know how important love is. It's time to step away and do away with all the rules and everything. The first step to getting into somebody's life and showing how much they matter is, man, I love you.
Sort of, yeah.
Show up every day.
And that's the thing. It's like you said, whether, I don't know, because it was really hard for me whenever I was in a state. I'm not so much now that I still battle with it, but back then I didn't, like you said, my faith in God wasn't it's not what it is now. Yeah. And there's a lot of times where I didn't really believe in God and stuff. So even if you are out there and you don't buy this God stuff, I'm telling you from the other side, hey, if you're this scientist, evolutionary, you look it up. I mean, we're social animals. That's how we're designed.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're a scientist or whether you're a theologist, and you know, even from the very beginning, God is Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, community. He is community. He is love. And so before the universe ever started, there was community. There was love. Yeah. That's how we're made. That whether you're scientific or whether it's biblical, we're made to be social. We're made to love each other. That's how we're made.
I mean, go all the way back to Genesis. God made man. Why? Because he needed a companion. Then God made man a woman. Why? Because man needed a companion. We all need companions.
Yeah.
Now, parents, if your teenager, your child is dealing with this on a level that is concerning, you guys need to take this as serious as possible. Because to them, there is no hope.
Yeah.
To them, there is just darkness, and there is just this overwhelming sense of, why do I even exist?
Yeah.
Reassure them that they matter. Reassure them, instead of getting onto them, instead of kicking them around and saying, you need to get out of this stupid mood, or you need to, you know, man, as we're all Hispanic men in here, but be a man. Men don't cry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. As a man, I cry a lot.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually like crying because I need to. Because I need to let my emotions out. Now, I do it in this way. I used to punch holes in the wall. I used to, again, my addictions, alcohol, all the other substances that I could to mask these emotions.
Yeah.
Oh, of course they made that night fantastic. But guess what? I still hated myself in the morning.
Because you wake up with the real thing. You might have put it off for a little bit, but you wake up with the real thing the next day. And you have to deal with it, and then next thing you know, you're still feeling of what you just did to yourself the night before.
Exactly.
And
you gotta wanna
it means fighting it every single day, yo. I mean, I'm serious.
You really have to.
You have to wake up, and I know what you feel. I don't want to wake up. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Maybe just calling 6 or something, but literally just that one time. Just say today it's gonna be the day. I remember I told JC about something that clouded my heart, and it's been reaping at me for a long time. And JC told me something, and I still keep that to heart. Is that today is gonna be the day. Today is gonna be the day. And if it's not today, then one day it will be my day. But today is gonna be the day. You have to keep saying that to yourself every single day until that addiction breaks. Until the darkness is no longer all clouded. There's that tiny little speck of light.
I think the great thing is that, like he said, I've been and this is something that I stress so much, is that you let others in. You have to let others in. So, like I said, I work in the medical field. I think I said that in the podcast before. And we had this, I think she was like 22, 23-year-old one day. She had gone swimming, and she stubbed her toe or something in the pool. It was a rough spot, and she gashed it. So she covered it up.
Yeah.
You know, and she covered it up. Eventually, we had to amputate her toe. And honestly, if she would have just not wrap it up so much, it kept it in the dark where it's damp, and actually opened it up and let the light in.
That's good.
She would have kept her toe.
There you go.
And that's kind of how I feel about this depression. When there's days, like I said, I still battle with it. And there's days where I have such a hard time getting out of bed.
Yeah.
But knowing that, I actually reach out to people. And I've had people come and just literally get me out of bed, and they just keep me busy till 9-10 o'clock at night, whatever it is. They just keep me busy, and then whenever I get back home, I'm too exhausted, I go back to bed or whatever it is, but they get me through the day.
They invest in you.
So the next day when I wake up, it's not that bad. At least I made it one more day, because I let others in. And whenever you let this mental illness, and if you bring it up to the light, to people that you trust, and you let it,
it's a wound.
It's like the Bible says, darkness hates the light.
Oh yeah.
You know,
when there's light, darkness flees.
Yep.
And we got to surround each other. And you know what? There's days where I don't feel like getting out of bed. But see, again, and I'm going to stress this, and I'm going to say this until the horse is dead, community.
Yep.
Yeah.
These two guys in here with me today, if I was going through something, I know I could go and say, you know what, man, I am having a crappy day. Today's just not my day. There is no light in my day today. I know that these two gentlemen could be that light in my day. Now, you, everyone listening, find that light. Now, again, find somebody that you can trust. Oh, I don't trust somebody. I don't trust nobody. I don't trust my family. Find somebody. There's somebody out there that's going to have your back through the thick and thin.
And you're listening to them right now, too.
Again, we do this because we love everybody. You're like, oh, you don't even know me. You don't even know who. I don't care what you think. I do. I love everyone. And I try to show that love to everybody that I come in contact with. Well, you don't know me. You're right, I don't. But, man, I would love to get to know you. And you know how you could do that? Man, you can get on SoundCloud, leave us a comment. You can get on Facebook, leave us a comment. You can get on YouTube, leave us a comment. You can even go to our website. That's right, we have a website now, all right? And you can go in there and send us a private message. and we're gonna pray for you. We're gonna follow up with you.
Yeah.
And then,
there's a guy named Aesop, right? Not Ace. There's a guy named Aesop Rock, which I love. He's a rapper.
I was gonna say,
no, but there's actually,
let's get it.
there's this guy named Aesop, and he had all these fables. He's actually this old writer. His name is Aesop, and he has this really great picture that just kind of came to mind. And he tells a story about 4 oxen, right, who stand tail to tail. So no matter which way the lion that's trying to devour them comes in, he's going to be met with horns, right? So then, of course, they get hungry and they separate and go graze individually and get themselves isolated. And one by one, the lion starts picking them off. Mm-hmm. And to me, it goes back to, how the Bible says that the enemy stalks you around like a roaring lion. And I think that's, like he says, community. If you surround yourself with community, it's harder for the depression to overtake you.
Yeah. You got people surrounding you that are going to kick that lion's butt. I mean, that's pray for each other every day, and that's something we got to do. Now, before ending this, there's one last thing that with people who have depression and people who struggle with anxiety and addiction. I mean, man, there's so much that goes into this, guys, really. But the one thing I hate the most is somebody saying about somebody who just took their life, that's a coward's way out.
Yeah.
That bothers me so much.
Yeah, that bothers me.
You don't know.
Or that's a selfish.
I'm sorry. You don't know what that person's going through. You literally have to put yourself in their shoes. Do you know how dark and how hopeless and how literally just... man, it is a dark, horrible place to be in. You guys don't understand. Well, that's selfish. You got people around them. Yes, but to that person, doing what they did was the best thing in their mind. I'm not saying it is, and I'm definitely not saying that that's what you know. But what I'm saying is, who are you to judge someone because of something they did? Nobody. And we're all the same.
A couple of things with that is that, you get, I don't know, so with everybody that tries suicide, there is, and I think I've shared this with you all, is that there is a little point where you do tell yourself, what if I put it off till tomorrow? What if I hold off for tomorrow? And then maybe tomorrow will be better. Maybe things change tomorrow. And then quickly gets kind of smothered up by other thoughts of, well, it hasn't changed this far, so it's not going to change. So to get to that place where you truly believe that the only way to end the hurt that you have inside, because that's ultimately...
Is to kill the hurt.
Right. It honestly is to stop hurting. The only way out and the only way to stop that hurt is to just leave this earth. I mean, that's a desperate place to be.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. You guys, the ones who don't deal with it, I say you don't understand because, I'm sorry, let's be honest, you don't. But we're telling you guys this stuff today because we want you to understand. We want you to understand from the 3 people inside this room today. I'm sorry, you have to at least try to put yourself in that person's shoes.
And it's hard because even people that battle with it, I use a lot of references from music. Pink Floyd has Brain Damage.
Yeah. And
Brain Damage is actually about one of the band members named Syd Barrett, who obviously dealt with mental illness and stuff. But in Brain Damage, it says, someone's in my head and it's not me. And that's how I feel and how I felt. And I'm sure that's how a lot of these people feel, that, it's whoever this person is inside me telling me that I'm worthless and telling me that everybody will be better off without me. That, yeah, they'll hurt temporary, but they'll all move on. That's not me telling me. It's somebody else inside my head, and I can't shut them up.
Yeah.
And again, man, I can't stress this enough. Community and just be vulnerable, and those voices will surely, slowly, quickly, or one way or another, they'll flee.
That actually reminded me of a song by Radiohead, Creep.
Yeah.
And but I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. literally says, "What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here." And I remember when I was going through my major bout with depression, and I'm gonna be as honest as I can be with you guys today. That was actually the end of Christmas going into 2017. I remember listening to that song, and I remember asking myself, what the hell am I doing here?
Yep.
And again, please don't get offended by what I just said, but I'm serious. I don't belong here. You guys do belong here. Every single one of you. No matter what you do, no matter what you've done, you belong here. Why? Because God created you for something big. And if you want to see something big, that thing that is big, if you want to see something come forth, if you want to see that light at the end of the tunnel, guys, it's time to stand up and say, depression, you are not winning today. Depression, you have no control over me. Anxiety, get out. You literally have to declare these things into your life. Again, Jesus says himself, there is life and death. If you keep speaking death into your life, like I don't belong here, I'm this, I'm that, you will begin to feel worse and worse and worse. But if you start just a little bit every single day and get the community.
But it's also, the community is awesome. And I know there's a lot of stigma attached to taking medication, but take medication if you need to.
God created doctors for a reason.
Yeah. The Bible says medication is okay. There's also, like I said, there's also therapy, talking to someone, whether it be, traditional counseling and talking your things out, or there's this new one called EFT, which is emotionally focused therapy. Has huge things going on with that. Kind of hard to find people who actually do it, because you actually get trained on it and stuff. But man, just there's a ton of help out there, and it's all getting what's inside into the light.
Yeah. Preach it.
Yeah, man.
Preach it.
That's great. Again, our prayers are going out right now to the families of Chris Cornell and, of course, Chester Bennington and everybody this year that has lost a loved one due to suicide. Our prayers are with you. We're there for you. And if you need to talk, we're here, guys. We really are. Again, we got our website up. You go www.witwministries.com. And you go scroll all the way to the bottom. You can send us a message. You can send us, maybe you need something you want us to pray for. Maybe you need something that you need to let out. Vent. It's okay to vent. You need to vent. We all do.
Yeah.
But we're here for you guys. We're here for everybody. Whether you're a celebrity, whether you're a normal person, or whether you're me, I'm a creep.
You're a weirdo.
I'm a weirdo. But guys, we love y'all. Every single person that is listening to this today. Our
so much love.
Our SoundCloud thing has just exploded, and we can't say enough because you guys are the reason why it has. We're literally at 936,000 listens, and again, we could never have imagined this. And it's not because of us, but it's because of the love that God has put in our hearts to reach you guys.
Yeah.
So this is Pastor J.C. Ramirez from the Lubbock Dream Center, and actually, hold up, sorry. I was going to sign off, but Marco wants to say one more thing. My bad.
My bad. I'm sorry. I do want to say this and kind of end it with this, and then we can close out. But for all those that are thinking about suicide, I say good. Keep thinking about it. Then start talking about it. And then start doing something about it to help yourself, help others. For those contemplating suicide, like we spoke about earlier, there's always that little bit of hope. Everybody has it, whether you choose to ignore it or not at the time. But if you're contemplating suicide, man, keep that hope alive, because tomorrow is a new day, Chicken Little. And I promise on the other side, if you don't believe in God, you'll see God's providence and that He was there.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good, man. I like that. Well, from everybody here at What in the World Ministries, guys, again, JC Ramirez, Justin Esquivel, and Marco Padron, we love you guys. We're praying for y'all, and we are here to fight this fight with y'all, alongside you guys. Always, always remember, there is light. There is light. So, till next week, guys, we're signing off. Again, check out our website. Send us stuff, guys. We're here for y'all, and we're praying for you guys always. Thank you so much for y'all's support, and thank you guys so much for y'all's time. I appreciate it, and it means more to all of us than you could ever imagine. God bless you guys. We'll see you guys next week.